In 2025, the uncomfortable truth is that many households, even those with decent incomes, are still living dangerously close to financial collapse. It's not always about poor money management. Often the problem lies in how fragile the average financial setup really is. A single emergency, a car breakdown, a medical bill, or a few weeks without work can send a family spiraling into debt. It's a reality backed by research. Surveys consistently show that a large portion of people have less than $1,000 in savings and would have to rely on credit cards or loans to handle an unexpected expense. That's a problem we're solving, and it's worth solving now. The good news? There are ways to quickly strengthen your financial safety net without needing years to build wealth. The process involves tightening the leaks, building strategic buffers, and using modern tools to make it harder for emergencies to completely derail your finances. The trick is to move from being reactive to proactive, getting ahead of the next what if before it happens. The first step is to create breathing room in your finances, even if it's temporary at first. This means carving out cash flow that can be redirected toward a safety cushion. For many people, this is where the budget either becomes a life raft or a trap. If you're not tracking where every dollar is going, it's nearly impossible to redirect money toward an emergency fund. One of the quickest ways to get control is to use a budgeting platform like YNAB. You Need a Budget, or Mint. YNAB, for example, forces you to assign every single dollar a job, whether it's groceries, rent, or a future car repairs category, so you instantly see where your priorities are mismatched with your spending habits. Mint, meanwhile, pulls transactions from your accounts and automatically categorizes them, which can be an eye-opener when you realize how much you spend on things like subscriptions you forgot about. Once you've found those extra dollars, the next move is to funnel them into a financial buffer. While many people are familiar with the idea of a rainy day fund, the urgency can be lost because it feels like a someday goal. The difference between a fragile family budget and a resilient one often comes down to having even a small emergency fund in place, enough to cover at least 1 month's worth of essential expenses. The key is to store that money somewhere safe, but accessible. High-yield savings accounts from banks like Ally or Marcus are particularly useful here, as they allow your money to grow a bit from interest while remaining instantly available. Unlike a traditional checking account, these accounts are less tempting to dip into for daily spending, yet they don't trap your cash like a certificate of deposit would. Of course, savings alone can't solve every crisis, especially if the emergency is income-related, such as job loss or reduced hours. This is where diversification of income comes in, not in the investing sense, but in having more than one stream of money flowing in. This doesn't necessarily mean launching a second career. Small side incomes from freelancing platforms like Upwork or Fiverr, driving for services like Uber, or selling products through Etsy can add a layer of resilience. Even an extra $200 a month from a side hustle, when directed entirely towards savings or debt repayment, can drastically change how vulnerable a household feels when unexpected bills hit. Reducing vulnerability also means reducing exposure to debt, especially high-interest debt like credit cards. For households already juggling balances, the quickest fix is often to restructure the debt rather than simply make minimum payments. Tools like Tally, which automates credit card payments and prioritizes them by interest rate, or balance transfer cards with 0% introductory APRs from issuers like Chase or Citi, can give breathing room by pausing interest and allowing more of each payment to attack the principal. The difference between paying 25% interest and paying none for a year can be the difference between sinking and recovering. The other side of preparing for emergencies is making sure you don't have to pay full price for every crisis. Insurance often feels like a begrudging expense, money out the door every month for something you hope you never use, but it's a central part of not going broke when things go wrong. Many people carry insufficient coverage without realizing it. For instance, renter's insurance can cost less than $15 a month, yet save thousands if your apartment is damaged or burglarized. Health insurance deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums should be understood, not guessed at. Using an HSA health savings account if you have a high deductible plan allows you to put aside pre-tax money specifically for medical purposes, and many providers like Lively or Fidelity make managing HSAs easy through intuitive apps. Not all emergencies are purely financial in the moment. They can also be logistical. A car breakdown can be devastating if you have no transportation alternatives, but far less damaging if you already have a plan in place with a rideshare account set up, a public transit pass, or roadside assistance through AAA. Thinking in terms of layered protections, cash for the expense, coverage for the worst-case scenario, and backup options for the immediate problem means you're not relying on a single point of failure. Technology has made it easier than ever to stay alert to brewing financial trouble. Banking apps now send real-time alerts for low balances or large transactions. Credit monitoring services like Credit Karma or Experian's free app can warn you if your credit usage spikes, which is often an early sign that you're sliding into debt reliance. Expense tracking apps like Pocket Guard can even project when you're likely to run out of money based on upcoming bills, helping you adjust before the crisis hits. This kind of early warning system is invaluable when every dollar counts. One often overlooked way to fix fragility quickly is to rethink the timing of your bills and paychecks. Many people struggle not because they can't afford their expenses in total, but because their cash flow is lopsided. Everything is due at the same time, while income trickles in unevenly. Calling utility providers, lenders, and subscription services to shift due dates can turn a tight monthly squeeze into something much more manageable. This small change costs nothing, but can free up mental and financial bandwidth almost instantly. It's also worth confronting lifestyle inflation, which can quietly erode your buffer before you ever build it. This doesn't mean cutting all joy from life, but it does mean questioning whether each expense adds meaningful value. For example, if your family enjoys takeout twice a week, replacing one of those nights with a home-cooked fun meal can redirect $40 to $60 a week toward your emergency cushion. Over a month, that's over $200, money that could go into the high-yield savings account. It's less about deprivation and more about conscious trade-offs. The psychological side of financial fragility is just as important as the numbers. Families that feel constantly on the brink tend to live in a heightened state of stress, which makes decision-making harder. Emergencies feel more devastating because they hit not just the wallet, but the sense of security. By contrast, households with even a small buffer start to feel a shift in confidence. A $1,000 emergency doesn't trigger panic, it triggers a plan. Building that shift often starts with simply setting up the right system so that you're never relying on memory or willpower alone to make good financial choices. Automatic transfers to savings each payday, automatic bill payments to avoid late fees, and automatic debt repayments that exceed the minimum can create momentum towards stability without requiring daily discipline. Even as you put these measures in place, it's important to remember that emergencies will still happen. The goal isn't to create an invincible life, that's impossible, but to ensure that when a crisis arrives, you have layers of defense. The combination of a liquid emergency fund, controlled debt, reliable insurance, alternate income streams, and proactive cash flow management turns emergencies from disasters into inconveniences. The families who weather storms best are those who don't see financial preparedness as a one-time project, but as an ongoing practice. Just as a home needs periodic maintenance to stay livable, a budget needs regular check-ins to stay effective. This might mean reviewing your expenses quarterly, shopping around for better insurance rates annually, or revisiting your income strategy whenever there's a major life change. The tools you start with today, whether it's YNAB for budgeting, Ally for savings, Tally for debt management, or an HSA with Fidelity, can evolve with you as your situation changes. In the end, the difference between one emergency away from broke and being resilient enough to handle life's curveballs isn't about luck or massive income. It's about stacking small, deliberate advantages until they add up to real security. The first few steps, opening that savings account, canceling unused subscriptions, automating a small transfer, might feel too small to matter, but they're the bricks in the wall that stand between your family and financial ruin. Once that wall is high enough, the inevitable storms of life still come, but they don't knock your house down. Instead, they pass and you remain standing, ready for whatever comes next. That was all from us for this video. For more similar content, make sure to check our video on stock picking. See you in the next one.